For decades, gardeners have been told the same story. Roots don't grow on their own. Cuttings fail, transplants struggle, and plants wither unless you apply the right chemicals, powders, gels, or hormones. The message has been drilled into every book, every course, every YouTube tutorial. You must force roots. You must feed them. You must control every step. And yet, if you step outside into the forests, the wild gardens, the quiet corners of nature untouched by human hands, you notice something strange. Plants thrive. Branches break and touch the soil, and roots form automatically. Vines anchor themselves. Trees send down deep networks of roots. No gels, no powders, no human instruction. Just life responding to life. This raises a question that almost nobody asks. What if everything we've been told about growing roots is backwards? What if the very chemicals, the constant watering, the overfeeding, and the fussing over cuttings are actually stopping roots from forming naturally? What if the secret to strong, deep, resilient roots isn't in bottles or branded formulas, but in something far simpler? Something every gardener can do today without spending a cent? It sounds counterintuitive because we are trained to believe that faster, more controlled, more perfect is better. But speed often hides weakness, and control can suppress life. In the quiet, subtle ways of nature, roots form only when they need to, only when survival demands it. They don't respond to instructions, they respond to necessity. And here lies the hidden truth. By removing interference instead of adding more, by creating just the right conditions for stress instead of comfort, we can trigger the plant to grow roots naturally, deeply, and more resilient than anything chemicals could force. Imagine cuttings that root on their own terms, plants that anchor themselves without struggle, and gardens that thrive quietly, efficiently, and sustainably. Imagine the frustration of seeing chemically treated cuttings fail while a neglected branch, left under the right conditions, flourishes. This is not magic, not folklore, and not a secret recipe locked behind patents. It's the way life has always worked. Millions of years of evolution, perfected in silence, now accessible to anyone willing to step back and watch. In this video, we're going to reveal the one simple change that unlocks this natural process, why almost every gardener overlooks it, and how you can apply it today to transform your cuttings and plants into strong, healthy, self-sufficient growers. By the end of this story, you'll understand why forcing roots is actually holding your plants back, and how doing less can make them grow more. Once you understand this principle, the hidden patterns in plant growth become clear. Plants that struggle slightly at the start often outperform those pampered from the beginning. Their stems thicken, leaves darken, and roots spread wide, gripping soil instead of circling it. This is not coincidence. It is biology responding to real need. When a plant senses uncertainty, energy flows downward instead of upward. Hormones concentrate near the base or cut, and cells begin transforming into roots. Nature has perfected this process over millions of years, yet modern gardening often interrupts it. The more we interfere, the more we prevent the plant from following its own intelligence. The problem lies in our obsession with speed. Chemical rooting agents promise instant results, visible roots in days, and sometimes they deliver. But speed comes at a cost. Forced roots are thin, brittle, and shallow. They exist because they were coerced, not because the plant needed them. When conditions shift, heat, drought, pests, these roots fail first. Natural roots, formed under mild stress, behave differently. They branch strategically, penetrate deeply, and establish beneficial relationships with soil organisms. This is where resilience is born, and why observing the plant's natural process is far more effective than chasing rapid growth. Applying this simple change requires patience and subtlety. It means adjusting water rather than increasing it, reducing humidity instead of maintaining constant moisture, and trimming excess leaves to redirect energy. By doing so, the plant senses a shift, an absence of comfort, and responds by growing roots to survive. Soil choice amplifies the effect. Heavy, nutrient-rich mixes create comfort, delaying adaptation. Lighter, faster-draining media create urgency. Roots respond where oxygen meets moisture, not where everything is saturated and static. Precision is not in chemicals. It is in understanding how a plant senses and adapts to its environment. The results are remarkable. Cuttings treated this way root more reliably, establishing strong, independent systems capable of thriving in variable conditions. Failures still occur, but they are honest failures, natural selection at work. The successful cuttings develop resilience, depth, and stability unmatched by chemically treated counterparts. It is the difference between forced obedience and true adaptation. Once this method is applied consistently, gardeners begin to notice patterns. Leaves appear healthier, stems sturdier, and soil integration stronger. The plant is no longer dependent on human intervention. It grows because it must, and in doing so, develops natural intelligence that chemicals cannot replicate. The true beauty of this simple change is that it is entirely accessible. You don't need expensive powders, gels, or hormones. All that is required is observation, timing, and a willingness to let the plant take the lead. A slight adjustment in watering, careful trimming, and a soil that allows for exploration are enough to trigger roots naturally. By stepping back, you allow the plant to make its own choices, to respond to environmental cues, and to allocate energy where it is needed most. This creates roots that are not only physically stronger, but biologically smarter, capable of responding to stress, drought, and disease in ways that forced roots never can. Contrast is everything here. Chemically induced roots often appear fast and uniform, but they lack adaptability. Natural roots grow slower, sometimes unevenly, but their structure is purpose-built by necessity. They branch where water is scarce, anchor where the soil is unstable, and form micro-connections with fungi and bacteria that improve nutrient uptake. This is not just growth, it is strategy. By interfering, gardeners unknowingly suppress this intelligence. By stepping back, by creating the right conditions and allowing the plant to feel just enough stress, roots form as nature intended, robust, expansive, and capable of sustaining life through changing seasons. Applying this principle transforms the gardener's role as well. Success is no longer measured by instant growth or the speed of visible roots. It is measured by resilience, longevity, and independence. You begin to see patterns that were always there, to understand the subtle signals plants give when they need to grow, adapt, or survive. Observing this process teaches patience and respect for life's intelligence. It demonstrates that sometimes the most effective action comes from doing less. Minimal interference yields maximum results. Each root becomes a reflection of the plant's own decision-making, not a forced response to human intervention. Ultimately, the secret to strong, chemical-free roots is deceptively simple. Provide conditions where the plant must develop roots and then step back. Let stress become the teacher, not a threat. Let necessity guide growth. By allowing the plant to respond naturally, roots develop deeply, widely, and resiliently. The plant adapts to its environment, forms connections with the soil, and builds strength that chemicals cannot replicate. Cuttings transform into thriving plants. Gardens become self-sustaining ecosystems. The change is subtle but profound, and it is entirely within reach of any gardener, willing to trust nature's intelligence. Once you apply this one principle, you will never look at rooting the same way again.